want to say thank you again to the Cobblestone Collective on behalf of who we are presenting. They run a lot of different events. We had a cool field trip to the San Diego Zoo. Hopefully someone joined us who's here today. We've been doing a lot of online Minecraft builds. That's my personal passion outside of K-3 literacy. Let us know if you're interested in that, or just go to cobblestonecollective.ca and continue to learn more about what workshops are offered over there. And before we get going, this really should have come first. I am a little embarrassed that I didn't have this slide first, so apologies for that. I want to give a really quick land acknowledgement. I personally am connecting from the land of the Mississauga, the Credit people, for which I'm forever thankful that I'm able to be here and present and to live my day-to-day life. They were here before us and they continue to coexist with us. And it's our responsibility from here on forward to continue coexisting and to make peace for the injustices that they've suffered from our hands. This land was shared to us in good faith, and I hope that we continue to live on it in good faith. If you've never been to nativeland.ca, make sure you go to that website. It maps out all the land all over North America and what indigenous groups were here before us. And I really invite you to find out on whose land you are on if you don't know yet. And before we get going, I'm going to formally introduce myself. My name is Amar Akil. I was formerly with Microsoft in education. At this point, I actually freshly just got back into the classroom. I'm working at the PDSB right now, and it's been an exciting year, as you can imagine. But I'm here to share some of my knowledge on some Microsoft tools that might help with K-3 literacy. Susan, you want to come off mute and say hi for a bit?
Absolutely. Hello, friends. My name is Susan Stewart. I'm an instructional technology coach in Central California. I'm a former kindergarten and grade 2 teacher, and I'm really excited to be here tonight. Now, I am going to be over in the chat, and if you have questions and you want to drop, I will try to give you the links you need. I will try to provide information for you, but also we are a small group, as Amar said. So if you'd like to just come off mute and ask your questions as well. But if you want to also just ask in the chat, I'll try to find questions or find a good time to have Amar answer those questions. And I'm Susan, and I'll be in the chat. Please use it to get what you need. I'll also be sharing resources there. But if you need any support, that's what I'm here for. And just a reminder, we are recording this session, so you know this is being recorded.
Absolutely. Thank you. And that should get emailed out to you, I think, a little bit after the session is finished. So just wait after the session's done. Otherwise, we are going to leave you with a help link. You can always reach out if you need anything. If you can't find that link, if you need the resource, it'll be there for you. Now, this is the game plan for today. We're going to explore a little bit of dictation that's built into Microsoft Word. And if you haven't seen dictation in Microsoft Word, it is pretty cool what you can do with the online version. You don't even need to install it on your computer. So that means it'll work on almost any device as long as your device has an internet browser. We're also going to explore Immersive Reader, which is by far one of the most powerful tools to help your students develop their literacy skills. We're also going to explore something called reading progress. If you're using Microsoft Teams, this is going to be, it's supposed to go live in August. But the last time I was waiting on a feature for them, it didn't get out on time. So this might end up coming out near October, but it's going to be a game changer. If you're doing something like reading records, having your students read something and then recording their errors, seeing where they self-correct, things like that, this is able to do all of that automatically using AI for you, submit a report to you. It does some crazy stuff, and we'll watch a video on it because, to be honest, even I don't have a preview build. And the last thing we're going to stop at is Flipgrid. If you don't know what Flipgrid is, it is one of the best tools to empower student voice. I think some of us only think that ideas that are being shared with writing is how students can share it, but that's not true. Some students can share information so much more powerfully with orally. And Flipgrid is a way for you to record that, receive that, and assess that if you need to. Without further ado, I'm going to get out of this presentation and we are going to start going freeform for here. If you are following along and you want to experience this for yourself, which I always think is the best way to learn, what I would invite you to do right now is open up a new browser and go to office.com. When you go to office.com, it's probably going to ask you to log in with an account. Log in with your school email. For me, that would be at PDSB. Let me double check that. At plsb.com. For you, it's going to be something different, most likely, if you're from a different school board. So make sure you log in with your school email, and that's going to bring you to your office dashboard. So go ahead and get logged in, unless you're more comfortable just watching. If you prefer, feel free to just watch here. And the cool thing about receiving a recording later on is you can watch right now, and when you get this recording, you can play it, and then you can experience all of this. It's going to be there for you step by step. So I'm going to wait maybe 10 to 15 more seconds to go to office.com and get logged in if you choose to. And then we're going to keep on rocking forward. I'm going to scan the chat just to see what's going on as well. Cool. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. I didn't realize so many people joined. Where's everyone coming in from? Just say hello in chat as well. Hey, everyone. I'm grade 1 to grade 8 educator. What grades do you teach? Let us know in chat just so we're a little more familiar with you as well. And where are you connecting from? Nice. And I'm going to wait maybe 15 more seconds. I asked you a question that might be delaying you. Then I'm going to keep on going forward. Okay. Once you're logged in on your Office dashboard, the first place I would like to take you is Microsoft Word. And you'll notice it's going to be inside this left-hand most column, and it's that little blue symbol with the W. At some point, I'm sure we've all used Microsoft Word for word processing. There are a lot of new tools in this. And probably one of the most powerful tools for our young learners is the dictation tool. When you select Word and you go over to new blank document, we're just going to open up a brand new empty document. And as long as your device has a microphone, you should see a dictate button at the top right. And I just want to really stress what we've done here. This is all online. We went to office.com. We didn't install anything. So as long as your students are on a device with a browser, this is going to work. Once you get to office.com, you log in, you go to Microsoft Word. If you're asking any questions from your students, if there's anything you need them to document, maybe your students are capable of typing, but they're still struggling with their spelling. That's where Dictate comes in. Dictate is a very powerful tool, not just to share what they're saying, but those words they might struggle with, like hippopotamus, regurgitation. You can tell what we were talking about at the San Diego Zoo. Adaptations. Those are words that might be difficult for your student, but dictation can fix that. I can just hit the button right here. Notice that it's listening at this point. Regurgitation. If I needed one word, that would be fine. And maybe I'd want to say one whole sentence. I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. Cool. I like how I kind of said I want it. I didn't even try to fix it to I want. Cool. It keeps listening. It gets kind of creepy. So I'm going to hit that red microphone button just to stop it right now. Now, I want you to notice that mine is also set to auto punctuate. You'll notice, based on the speed I was talking of my pauses, it automatically put a period after notice that it's listening at this point, period. Regurgitation, period. If I needed one word, comma. So this isn't just dictating. I have it set to auto punctuation. You might not have auto punctuation by default. And if that's you right now, like, don't worry about it. If you wanted to set auto punctuation on, all you would have to do is go to the bottom where that little cog is, select that, and notice auto punctuation is the off option right there. And thankfully, the profanity filter is on by default. You can see that there, but feel free to turn that off if you prefer. That's all built in here. And now if you continue to dictate, it would continue dictating. Now, I do want to mention one more thing because I want to be mindful that I am connecting from Canada and French is our second language. If you're teaching French immersion, if you're working with French students, you don't have to just dictate in English. Next to dictate is that down arrow button. You know what? With the online version, I take it back. You can only dictate in English. With the desktop version, you can change it to dictate in other languages. I think there's only a few options now. French, I'm sure Spanish is one of them, and there might be one or two other ones. There will be more added in the future, but that's only in the desktop version. For the online version, we're only dictating in English for now, which is unfortunate because I honestly thought that was put in there. If you want to test out dictation, you can go ahead and do that for the next couple of minutes. But I really want to stress that dictation is a powerful tool, not just for students that are like students that might not have the mobility to type. This is a powerful tool to share with them. Students that are still developing their literacy skills that might just be struggling to spell one or two words. It might get frustrating for them. They can use dictation to spell those words. Like, this is something that they should explore. And if comfortable, they're going to continue using. And it's built into Microsoft Word. I'm going to give you maybe 2 minutes. Let me know if you have any questions on dictation now before we get going. And I'll go ahead and scan chat. Go ahead, Susan.
I don't have a question, but I do have a wonder here. Well, first of all, one of our friends wonders how you're getting can you share us with how you're getting your cursor to have the circle around it when you click? Someone is curious about how you get that there.
Why don't we do that at the end? I did not have time for that. I think that's one of the most important skills as virtual teachers. I always build out the last 5 or 10 minutes. There's always a teacher that asks. So I'm thank you for that.
Also, the second thing there, I noticed when you're talking about, still developing literacy skills, I really appreciate this only because, like you said, the students who don't have the motor skills for writing could be a thing. But I love how, I know oftentimes with my kindergartners, they will say a sentence that has really big, rich vocabulary. And then when it's time to write, they almost bring back their own language because they try to find the easy words that they know how to spell. So I love that. By using the dictation, that encourages that nice rich vocabulary. So yeah, we're going to be quiet for a minute or two just so you have a chance to try this without us talking in the background.
So great question. Is this feature available on iPad? I'm going to leave that to Susan to look up real fast. I haven't touched the iPad in a while. I haven't been able to test that for myself. If dictation is available with Microsoft Word. And we'll come back to that. And I'm sure Susan will drop that answer. When we come back as a group, I realize I skipped a couple important slides that I probably should have discussed before we do get going. I shared with you this, by the way, as well. This is a chart of accessibility tools that are available in Microsoft, but many of them are relevant for literacy skills across the board, no matter what grades you're teaching. You'll notice anytime we're talking about read aloud and word and highlighting, it shows every single program that has this built into it on Microsoft's end. So if you needed anything read aloud for your students, you could have used OneNote, you could have used Word online, you could have used Word on the iPad, you could have used Outlook if you're using your email client for that. All of those tools have read aloud and word highlighting built into it. So make sure you look at this chart. I'm only going to cover a couple of programs today, A lot of these features, like dictation, are built in multiple programs like OneNote. At this point, I believe Dictate even works through Outlook on the web if you needed to use it. It's in a lot of places. So if you need it, it's not only in Word. And that chart's going to be your point of reference in my presentation. Now we have a little bit of text here. I'm going to pretend that I've typed this out. Maybe this is something I collected for my students. This could have been the story that I want to read with my students. Maybe this is something I wanted them to read at home. One way I can empower them and make sure that they read and understand what's happening is through the use of Immersive Reader. And before I go to the next part, I always forget to share my system audio. So I'm going to come back to this meeting. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to share again and include my system audio and head back to Microsoft Word. Now, if you've never used Immersive Reader before, again, this is built into Word. This is built into OneNote. This is available for free. Like anyone can use Microsoft Word or OneNote with a free account as well. They don't need a school account, and they have access to this. So if your students need this, I'm going to go over to the top where it says View. And when I select View, you'll notice there's an option for Immersive Reader. I'm only showing you this in Word. If you were using something like OneNote, it would also be in View and Immersive Reader. If you were using Microsoft Teams, it's not under View, but it is in Microsoft Teams. If you click on the three dots next to a message, you can use Immersive Reader. Let's just take a look at it before we discuss that further. Everything that was on that Word page, you'll notice, has been transcribed here. And this is useful for a number of reasons. Word by default is not the most accessible. There's a white background that's really hard for me to look at. The text might even be really tiny. Think about students with visual accessibility on this document. But just by switching it over to Immersive Reader, number one, everything is large and in charge. I see it. Before I even worry about reading it, I can even just set the text to being bigger if I wanted to, recognize those letters a little bit stronger. I always recommend using a dark theme. It helps my eyes relax. If you haven't gotten in the habit of doing this, try it out a couple times. It's much, much better for your eyesight as well, especially if you're in a dark room, even in regular lighting. Students with dyslexia, this helps the letters stand out. It is proven to help them more easily identify what they're reading. So keep that in mind as well. Now, notice at the bottom there's a play button. I can go ahead and hit play.
Notice that it's listening at this point. Regurgitation. If I needed one word, that would be fine.
It'll read back whatever is on this page. You'll notice it was reading it at a pretty decent rate. That's because under voice settings, I've adjusted it to 0.75 speed. I mean, if you ever show this to your students, I guarantee you the first thing they're going to do is dial it up to 11, and
maybe I want to say one whole sentence.
That doesn't really help anyone. So dial it down after they get that out of their system. And that can have that read back for them. And I really want to stress something about features like text to voice. You remember a lot more information if you use bimodal learning. Bimodal learning is you will hear it and you read it. Think about when you watch a movie. I don't know what watching a movie is like for you, but I don't remember any dialogue unless it's either being yelled loudly, "This is Sparta," or if the subtitles are on, and then I can actually see the conversations a lot more clearly. I remember that information a lot more if I'm hearing it and seeing it. And that's true for our students as well. So if they're having this read back to them, it's not just because they might need it read back. This might help them remember more information as well.
Sentence. I want a hippopotamus for Christmas.
But we're not done yet with this. I'm going to just go ahead. I do want to stress that there are colors available. That's to help your students focus. Sometimes students may get fixated on colors. If you're fixated on green, blue, yellow, or gray, we got you. If you need any other colors, it's not supported. I'm kidding. There's a more color button. Like depending on if the student needs a color to help them focus on this reading, there's a lot of color options there. When I started, there was something like 9. At this point, you can see it's expanded to being much bigger than 9. And that's one thing I appreciate about Microsoft tools, that they're getting expanded all the time. But okay, we've taken a look at that text. We've explored using this, having it read back to us. that there's a grammar option, and that's that little bar up there at the top with that little magic wand, grammar options. Think about your young learners. They're just learning how to break words down into syllables. So let's break this down into syllables. Hippopotamus, Christmas, even, listening. It should be listening, but it said listing. Okay. And that's also cool for them to actually have this read back. Notice that instead of saying listing, it said listing. Using Immersive Reader to hear back what you've written is one way that students can also identify their spelling mistakes. Sometimes your eyes see what you want to say, and you don't recognize it until you hear it. So using Immersive Reader to just read back even one sentence of what they just wrote is a great way for them to learn how to edit their work. That doesn't sound right. Why did it write that? Okay, maybe I should try again. So keep that in mind as well. I've been bombarding you with a lot of information. Why don't I pause here for 1 second? Any questions so far? Okay. Let's keep going. No matter what you're looking at with Immersive Reader, the other thing you can do is break it down. Maybe you want to highlight all the nouns in purple. Cool, I can see notice is a noun. Word, cool. And let's make all the verbs red, adjectives green, adverbs yellow. So if you're doing any grammar lessons with your students and you kind of just want to make any reading into help having them self-identify what are the nouns or verbs in this reading, they can check their own answers using that. It'll automatically highlight it. And think about students with visual impairments such as being colorblind. Maybe your student is unable to see green on their visual spectrum. They can select that and adjust it to a different color. That's one of the cool things about this. It's not just locking them down with the colors. They can change the colors to whatever they can easily identify. And I'll be honest, I don't remember colors at all, so I'm actually going to just click show labels. Okay, I can see the N above the word. That's a noun, that's a verb, that's an adverb, and adjective. Much better. So now we've broken all of that down in your grammar options. Let's shut that off. Let's move on to the third tab. Again, something to help your students develop their skills. Think about all the words that they might read that they have no idea what it means. So I've got picture dictionary turned on by default. And let's check out something like, what does cool mean? Why is it? Okay. Let's do summer. There we go. Sometimes it takes the internet a second to connect and then the picture will come up. I wonder if it'll identify creepy. Ooh, that's kind of creepy, sure. Listening. So the standard that I know Microsoft is going for is including 3 pictures per definition. It's not there yet for every word, but that just makes sure that there's a lot of context around it. You get the idea. Picture dictionary is built to do it. And if they were struggling with understanding that word, notice that when I select it, I can even hit that listen button to have that read back to me.
Word.
Once your students use this several times and they actually learn how to use it, it can really empower them to help with their reading comprehension abilities. Something that might visually help them access more information from their readings is line focus as well. Now take a look at what that does, especially when you're learning to read. Sometimes you skip a line, sometimes you're like going diagonal. This helps you just keep it straight. Like imagine a reading ruler, that's what this is. If I'm having this read back, it'll read it back line by line now.
Notice that it's listening at this point.
Okay, and if I don't want it read back, I can even just read through it slowly using this reading ruler to go down line by line at my own speed. And the last thing that's super powerful with reading Immersive Reader, is the translate feature. Think about all the students that pass through our classroom. Think about our students that might not necessarily speak English as their first language. Think about our students that may have just arrived in our communities and they're still getting settled. One thing Immersive Reader can do is translate this into, I'm not going to say every language on the spectrum of our planet, but you can just see this list is going on for a very long time. When I started, this list was something like 30 or 40 languages. You can see it's blown up much more beyond that. You can notice it also gets regional, even with English, Australian, Canadian, Hong Kong, Ireland, and I'll even go down to French because that's the one I think that'll be easiest to share with us. Maybe I want to translate this into French with the Canadian focus. So let's click on French Canada. And now I've translated this entire document into French. And even if I press the play button, I'll read it back, accents and all.
Remarquez qu'il écoute à ce stade. La régurgitation.
Susan, that is truly the word of the day. And we've translated this. And I'm just going to switch that back into English. Or you know what? I don't even need to switch it back. I'm just going to go back to my document for now. I'm going to pause here because there's something else I want to show you about Immersive Reader. But right now, if you have any questions about translation, picture dictionary, what did I do? Maybe you want to see again how this started. Whatever you put in this Microsoft Word document, it's going to be able to read. You could have copied and pasted text. That's up to you. Any questions right now? Okay. Shut dictation off for a second. I want to show you something else that you can do with Immersive Reader. And for this, I'm actually going to switch over to my phone, if you bear with me. Think about empowering your students to be able to read without you. There's an app on your phone device or even on iPads that's called Office Lens. Office Lens. That's what I'm going to show you. First, I'm going to connect to the speeding. Give me 1 second. There we go. I'm going to mute myself on this. Mic is off, and I'm just going to shut off my volume so there's no echo, and I'm going to hit join now. Hey everyone, I am connected from this device. I'm going to share my screen on my phone, and I really want to show you what you can do if you're using Office Lens. Now, Office Lens, you can literally take a picture. Yep. Testing 1, 2, 3. There's no echo that time, right? Okay, apologies for that. Let me try that one more time. Hold on, I'm going to stop this. And I'm going to shut off my audio, and then I'm going to go back to share, and then we'll be good. Okay. Now, if you take a picture of something with Office Lens, you can literally send it directly to OneDrive from where you can put it into Word. You can send it directly to OneNote. And when you put it inside Word, OneDrive, or even OneNote, you're able to use Immersive Reader just from an image. Is my screen coming on? I don't see it coming on, Susan. There we go. It is coming on. Perfect. Oh.
We see your phone screen.
Yes, ignore all those games as I scroll through it. So I've turned on Immersive Reader. I'm just going to open up the first page of An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth. So using the Office Lens app, I've just taken a picture of this page, and that's perfect. I'm just going to hit confirm on it. I'm going to go over to the next page. I have this picture here that I'm going to delete. Now take a look at that. It's nothing too fancy so far. It's just a picture. And if I'm happy with it, I'm going to hit done. And now I have a couple of options. I can send this, you'll notice, directly to a Word document. From there, I can share that Word document to students and they can use Immersive Reader. So think about all those physical pieces of paper you have. You can send it directly to Word, OneDrive, OneNote, PowerPoint, and use Immersive Reader. I don't think PowerPoint has Immersive Reader yet, so don't do that one if you're using Immersive Reader. But take a look at what you can empower your students to do if they're using this app on an iPad or if they have their own phone device. You'll notice at the bottom, it says Immersive Reader. Everything I showed you directly on Microsoft Word can also be done through this device. I could have it read back if I press that play button. If I wanted to, all those text options, everything is still there on the phone as well. All those translation features, breaking it down to syllables. I'm not going to go through it step by step, but this could have been done on your phone. Let me know if you want any more information on Office Lens before we keep on going. I'm going to disconnect from this device right now. I'm going to put my book aside, and I'm going to reshare my screen. Oof. Okay, we've talked about empowering our students in a variety of ways. Number one, how to share their ideas. Number two, how to receive their readings and to help develop their literacy skills. Why don't we move forward? And I believe before we get to Flipgrid, we're going to highlight something built into Microsoft Teams. This is called Reading Progress. This isn't live yet, but it's going to be live in August, which means hopefully it'll arrive by September. It might get delayed a little bit to October. Keep that in mind, but it's slated to launch in August. Now, Reading Progress is a great tool to help your students develop their reading skills with you just setting what they need to do, and then they're able to do it whether you want to build them time for them to do it by themselves in school or to go back home and read it there. You'll notice over here is the text. The student literally records themselves reading it, and they have a whole lot of metric data that you as a teacher can receive. All those purple colors are mispronunciations. The red are words they didn't read, so they didn't read combination in this example. Physical, they self-corrected. So this is reading records, and it's reading records being done for you using AI. It's freeing up your time and collecting all this data as well. I'm going to play this video because the video does a much better job of describing it than I do. The AI can analyze that data and let you really easily see what area do your students need to develop. Maybe it's only one student that's struggling with it. It can even single out that piece of data for you. You can pick it out, and then you can start differentiating the readings for students. Like, let me play the video. It's going to be a lot more powerful than my talking. I'm just going to open up that blog. And you know what? I'm pretty sure I always forget to share my audio. I got to work on that, Susan. There we go.
Luckily, it's just one click, right?
Just one click. And now we start.
Literacy is so important, and it's my job to help the kids grow in that and to see the value in that and to break the mindsets of like, oh, I'm just a bad reader, I don't like to read.
I don't have to worry about other people just looking at me and staring at me. It's just reading to myself, sort of, but on camera.
When I came across Reading Progress, I was able to say, hey, I've assigned a passage to each and every one of you guys. At your reading level, I want you to record you reading this passage. I was surprised that when the whole class came back literally within 10 minutes, everyone was already done. Having that recording, I'm able to spend ample amount of time to analyze, and instead of using my instructional time, it allows me to use my planning time to figure out how do I intentionally approach every student. The whole class, this is what I'll teach them, and maybe this one specific individual student, I need to address with him or her this specific area. Reading Progress has really motivated a lot of kids to work harder and kind of gave them ownership of their learning.
Well, as a mother and an educator, you know that the conference with the student is the most powerful piece. It's not necessarily them reading and recording. It's what you do with that reading and with that recording. And she's able to capitalize on that even faster now.
It probably helps me be a better reader because I can actually listen to myself. And if I did say a word wrong or something, I'd be able to say it better than next time because I know that I said it wrong.
Struggling readers, they struggle, so they avoid reading. And by avoiding reading, they struggle even more. And so it's been really cool to watch how my kids are, reading more at home. They're more excited to read in the classroom. They have their personal goals that they've made, not me. And so they're excited to work.
Coming from an administrative perspective is that this isn't just a classroom tool. Because we have so much access to data, that this is a powerful tool to change the learning trajectory of a building. But watching her grow in her reading, it's been a joy for me. I used to love reading as a child, and I wanted that for her.
Now that we use the app, I'm more confident. I'm less worried about it. Get worried about a lot of things, but reading now is one of the things that I'm not worried about anymore.
I want all of my students to get to the point where they know what it feels like to get lost in a book.
Favorite part is when I get to a really interesting part in the book and then I can't stop reading it, and it's really fun.
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I can't say. Oh man, I had it myself unmuted. I'm sorry for any echo that was happening at that point. I just realized that. I'm going to be very honest with you. I can't say too much more about reading progress than what you've already seen there. I can't even play around with it yet. It's not in the preview build even for me to experience. It is expected to come out in August. Every single time I watch that video, I discover something new. I notice that it's grabbing a vocabulary of challenging words that are challenging all your students. And the bigger the word, the more students in your class that are being challenged by it. So that was pretty cool. Any comments, any questions? Or shall we keep on moving forward to Flipgrid at this point?
They wanted the link, and I think I got a link there, the link to this link to that video. Do I have access to that and I can get it over to them? Is it the one in the slide deck?
I thought I linked the video directly, but I didn't. But if you open up that link that is in the slide deck, that's going to be this blog article. And if you scroll down, it's literally the first video that you hit right down there.
All right, I'll get it for you, friends.
And you can read through that in that blog post. It gives more information as well. If you don't follow Mike Tolson, I really recommend you do. He shares all types of information on new tools that are coming for education through Microsoft. He's a champion of accessibility. Immersive Reader was one of his pet projects. Everything that's like expanded through it is through his team's input. It's been great. And this article is directly from him, so please explore that when you have a chance. And with that, why don't we get going into Flipgrid, which is going to be our last piece. And I'll share this presentation at the end, or I'm sure Susan will again as well, if you need it. But the last thing I really want to share to empower our K-3 students is Flipgrid. I'm curious, has anyone here used Flipgrid in their classroom before? Has anyone used Flipgrid in their classroom before? Oh, thank you for answering. I'm just scanning through chat. Awesome. Then I'll take it nice and slow. And we'll go step by step through what Flipgrid is before we dive into Flipgrid itself. So Flipgrid is web-based as well. If you're using it on an iPad, you're going to need to install an app. If you're using it on a Chromebook or a Windows 10 device, you can do it through any web browser. Flipgrid is one of the most powerful tools to start empowering your students' voices. Basically, it allows you to give a question to your students, and your students can record an answer. And it records a video. Okay? It's not just audio, it's video, body language, everything. Think about how you can use that in your classrooms. If you want them to explain any type of mathematical thinking, if you want them to talk about any kind of presentation, working on Fluency phonics. If you want to do something like reading records right now, before that comes out for Microsoft Teams, Flipgrid is one way that I've done it in the past, especially right now when we're connecting remotely, especially in Ontario. This is a great tool for them to also record their physical activity for physical education, for example. This is just another way for you to give something to your students, an open-ended question, maybe give them some text to read, and they can record themselves. And why don't I show you what this looks like? And if you want to follow along, you can always go to flipgrid.com. But if this is your first time, you might want to just watch me for the next couple minutes. I'm going to go ahead over here. So when you come to flipgrid.com, the first thing you're going to do if you want to use it is go over to Educator Sign Up and make sure you're registered for it. If your school board already has either a Google or a Microsoft account, you can just go straight to log in, and you'll notice, okay, I'm already logged in. It actually just asks you, do you want to log in with a Google account or do you want to log in with a Microsoft account? So this isn't something that's Microsoft only. If you're already like in the school board that you're like, oh, I don't even have all these tools. Don't worry, Google works with this to log in, and this integrates fantastically across the board. Once you get to Flipgrid, let's take a look at what you're looking at here. These are questions that I've designed, or these are groups I've designed for my students. So maybe I have a classroom for literacy, for example. I'm going to enter that literacy classroom right now. Classroom, I have 2 questions. I have a reading fluency practice that I've designed, and I have a little hello section where they can come in and they can say, hello, my name is such and such. These are my hobbies. Just some place for them to come and introduce themselves. And I'm going to go click on reading fluency practice right now. Now, this is what it looks like for you as a teacher. I've started designing that question. I added that picture. Notice I can edit it. I can share it. And if I'm using, like I mentioned, I can send this straight to Google Classroom if I wanted. I can send this to Microsoft Teams. If you're working in something like D2L, you can even just get that embed code, or you can just copy and paste that web address. It's up to you how you want to share it. But Flipgrid is designed to work across the board. It integrates fantastically no matter what you're using. And if your students have something like an iPad, they can literally just scan this QR code. If you printed this out on a piece of paper with their iPad's camera, they can just literally scan it and they're going to go straight to this question. So don't even worry about sharing a link with them or having them type it out. That QR code is going to save a lot of sanity for you. And let's see what it looks like for that student, okay? I'm just going to go select View as a Student, and I want you to see how your student would experience this. Notice it's asking them to log in. I'm just going to go ahead and hit Join with Google, because I think that's what my personal email is. Cool. And now I've arrived here, and I can see this question. Now think about your K to 3 learners. They might not be able to read that question you've posted over there. That symbol over there is the universal symbol for Immersive Reader. So the first thing they're going to do is hit Immersive Reader. And now they can have that question read back to them. That's empowered them to now share their knowledge orally. Because great, I understand this question. So I'm going to read part of a book. I'm going to watch this video and think of one way that I'm going to watch my own video and think of one way that I glowed and one way that I could grow. And then I'm going to comment on my video for my glow and my grow step. So why don't I go ahead and hit that record a response. And I'm just going to allow my microphone and my camera to be used right now. Okay, it is using a different camera. Let me see if I can change this. Retry camera. Okay, let's try that one last time. Huh, that is interesting. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to open up a different browser. And let's try that again.
I know sometimes when I do that, Amar, it does. I have to go through and choose which camera, and it looks like that's what Amar is doing here. I'm sure some of you probably experienced that, like during distance learning, maybe you had an embedded camera and then you clipped on another camera. That's what's going on here. He's just having to select between different cameras, and it looks like he might have his snap camera there enabled. So it's just going to be about switching to other cameras.
Huh. That's being very funny. It's never done this before, I'll be honest. It should be pretty straightforward. You know what? I'm going to try
Would you-
one last time with Chrome. Otherwise, we are going to move forward.
If you'd like, I can demo this as well.
You're the next step. If you want to get set up for that, I would appreciate it, Susan. If it doesn't work through Chrome, because I think all the options that students have for their recording is very helpful. There we go. I'm going to hit record a response, and I'm going to allow you. Flip view, flip.
Amar, I wonder if you were to turn off your camera in Teams, if that would help. Sometimes that works for me. If I come over to Teams and turn off my camera.
That is so brilliant. It is worth a try. It used to work before with even Teams on, and that's exactly what's going on that time. So because Teams was using my camera, you'll see I'm here. Cool. Number one, if my student needs that instructions, notice it's still posted here. So they can still see their question. And when this is being recorded, you're not going to see that question being recorded. That's only there for that student's reference. Any pictures you have in there, any information that's there, they can see that as they're recording their answer. If the student wanted to make a note or a script for themselves, they can type out what they want to say over here using this little sticky note. Now, let's talk about what our student can also do. I'm going to go over to effects. I know one thing that helps students that are especially shy is something called filters. Maybe your students are super shy, they don't want to be on camera, and I'm looking for that block pixel. There we go. And hey, I feel a lot more comfortable presenting and recording. You can still hear me perfectly fine, but I've been pixelated, as you can see. Or maybe they want to just get ready for Instagram in the future. I know they're young right now, but someday they'll get there. Maybe you want to use one of these stylish filters. That's really up to me. Let's go night mode. Cool. Now, the other thing your students can do before they're even ready to start recording, if you really wanted to, they can even set up a whiteboard on the screen for them to draw on while they talk. So when I talked about like having them show their mathematical thinking, maybe you want them to draw something like 1 + 1. It has been a while since I've done this, to be honest, Susan. Where's that pen option?
So if you click there on the, oh, it's goodness, I can't see. It should, right there. Oh, yeah. Can you go back to where you were just now?
Options?
And then
I think I just saw it.
go over on the effects. It was, I saw it pop up and then it went away. Is it there?
Ink, that's the one I wanted, yes. So they've updated this. It's been a little different recently. But anyway, if I wanted to show like 1 + 1 = 2. Now, right now, I'm not even recording it, but if I wanted to, I could have recorded that live. So why don't we go ahead and start recording right now? Number one, everything I drew before is being recorded behind me. If I want to actually answer this question, which was being asked of me, I can pick up this book right now. I can start reading it. If I want to explain my mathematical thinking, I can even start doodling, and it's recording this live right now. So I'm just going to start drawing that 1 + 1 = 2. And once you're happy with this recording, the student can hit next. There is a time limit on this, okay? You as a teacher can set it. So the student can't keep on going on and on like I am. You could have cut them off after 30 seconds. You could have cut them off after 10 seconds. Or if this is a longer project, they can keep talking for 5 minutes. That's up to you. That's a limit that you're going to set. Number one, everything I drew before is being recorded behind me. If I want to actually answer this question, which was being asked of me, I can pick up this book right now. I can start reading it. If I want to explain my mathematical thinking, I can even start doodling, and it's recording this live right now. So I'm just going to start drawing that 1 + 1 = 2. Man, and once you're happy with this recording, the student can hit next. Okay, Can't believe I sound like that. I'm going to keep on going now. I can press the next button right now. And now before I turn it in, number one, what's my name? If you wanted to have in with younger students, you're probably not going to have them link a document, but if you wanted them to link either a Word document or a Google document, you can drop that link in there as well. And if they want like a different, so this is going to be like the thumbnail for this video recording, and that one doesn't look very flattering to me. So I'm just going to take a selfie right here and confirm that. That one looks a lot better. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit submit. I didn't show you the filters. I could have put like a mask on me. For Halloween, you get all types of fun, like monster masks. It gets pretty fun. And at this point, the teacher will have received this recording. And if I wanted to download that video and hear it again, I can. So the student can check their own answer and they can respond to it. You'll notice I can see my response. I can click on it. And this is me as a student still, okay? I can watch my own video and I can comment under it. Now, depending on how you set up Flipgrid, students can see each other's videos as well. So it's a great way for them to start peer-to-peer interactions, giving feedback to each other, having a discussion. If you're teaching remotely, like this is a great place to collect all of it. But if this is something like reading records, you don't want them to see each other developing those literacy skills, you can disable this and then they can't see each other's videos, they can't respond to each other's videos as well. I've left that enabled. You can disable that. I'm going to close this browser window. I'm going to come back here. As a teacher, number one, I can still see that video here. And this is the teacher's view right now. Number one, I can send them a video comment no matter what. I didn't attach a rubric to this question, but you can also attach a rubric and you can mark students here. You can export them as an Excel sheet, collect that with the rest of your marks if you wanted to, consolidate it, and give them that assessment mark at the end of the year. You can do some cool stuff with Flipgrid. Not gonna lie to you, we got 5 minutes, so it's not a lot of time. But if you're interested, I know Cobblestone has a lot of different Flipgrid sessions throughout the year. Keep an eye on that Cobblestone website link for upcoming workshops. Join us again for that. We have like an hour workshops, and Flipgrid is not a tough tool. Anyone can learn it within an hour. And then it's just literally you going into your classroom, playing with it, and learning how to use it more effectively for your needs. I'm going to pause here. I can see that Susan has sent out that feedback form, so thank you. Are there any questions before we move on to the next step? I'm going to close that. I'm going to turn my camera on, and let's just see if there's any questions. And I don't know if I stressed that, but Flipgrid is free regardless of if you are part of Microsoft's ecosystem or not. Anyone can use it. And there's no freemium version. Everyone has the same access, which I think is super awesome. It's a really good story. It was going freemium, but that's where Microsoft stepped in, and they assured everyone that it's going to remain free and accessible for everyone in education. Thank you all so much for your time this evening. I know it's not easy, especially after a full day of teaching. And we're just grateful for you to be able to join us for that last hour. The last resource I'm going to share before we head on our way, if there's no questions, is the website education.microsoft.com. And I'm just going to open that up in a browser right over here. This is Microsoft's Education Learning Hub. When you arrive here, maybe you're super keen on continuing your journey in Flipgrid. You'll notice if you go to that links at the top for training and go over to courses, you can even search for something like Flipgrid. And you'll notice there's multiple courses on Beyond the Basics with Flipgrid, Discover the Flipgrid Library, Engage and Amplify. That's probably the first place you want to stop. The first place you want to start, rather. Supporting Social and Emotional Learning. That's another great course. And it's not just Flipgrid that's covered here. Maybe you want to cover other tools like literacy. Notice there's a wide range of online workshops here. These are all automated. These are all free. It's all at your own pace, at your own learning. For spending the last hour with Susan and myself, if you click sign in here and you log in, This actually tracks all of your learning as well. For spending the last hour with Susan and myself, if you click on that and go to redeem achievement code, you can enter this code that we've provided over here, and that'll actually get you on your way and get you certified as a Microsoft Innovative Educator. And as you keep doing more courses, it'll track that and provide a transcript for your learning that you can share and keep on continuing with this journey. I've said too much, probably way too much. I know I'm out of breath. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks again for joining us. Hopefully we've been empowered with Diction, Immersive Reader. How can we empower student voice with Flipgrid? We know that in August we have reading tools coming to Teams. There's a lot on the horizon, and hopefully take one thing with you, play with it in your classroom. Thanks again, everyone.